See if you can fight Dreadguard.
Don't even try that.
Sure, please don't worry. You're as good as dead. Are you ready to die?
Tidings, honoured guest. My name is Beatrice. The raffish companion you see beside me goes by the name of Urzub. The timing of your visit is rather impeccable. Urzub has just secured a fresh skeever which we hope to prepare at the top of the hour. We welcome you to join us in the consumption of this delectable feast. Our guest seems disappointed in the menu. My deepest apologies, I had not anticipated such an outcome. Skeever steak is known to be the Vauhinjarth of cooked meats, and their tails are a highly regarded delicacy in certain culinary circles. Perhaps our guest would prefer a beverage instead. Parched of throat or parched of mind, our drink will offer the remedy. Oh, forgive me, manners. I am but an erstwhile savage, who only recently gained a powers of articulation. Why, there could be no other place. It has been chosen by serendipity herself. For I have ventured far across the river, where the rogues known as the Forsworn reside. I was once such a rogue. A disagreement over refreshments led to my departure. Verily, I was not alone in my thirst, for as I ventured north, another came south. Me associate Urzub was slaving in the mines of Moker's Go when a similar thirst afflicted him and sent him to this location. It is for that reason that I have dubbed this settlement Les Casgo. Why, yes. As half the population is still orc, by rule, it still classifies as a stronghold. More or less. Why, the rule of estimation. If that is cause for confusion, allow this host to offer a guest an example. Take me associate here, who stands roughly 2 1/4 sword length. For the sake of brevity, you might tell a stranger he's only 2 sword lengths tall, which does indeed convey his general stature. In this instance, one always rounds to the nearest whole number. Now suppose you are exactly 2 1/2 sword lengths in height. Why, his distance from the numbers 2 and 3 would be equal. In this instance, the rules you choose the next highest round number when making an estimate. The same rule applies to the composition of this settlement.
Like B said, we're having rats for dinner. You in or out? Sometimes you gotta squint real hard. Other times they camouflage themselves by turning the color of a bush. Them skeevers can be real sneaky. Sometimes it'll take 2 or maybe 3 bottles before you spot one. But they're there. What's with that look? You think I'm mad or something? To the void with you there. I hail from Morkasner, a stronghold to the north of here. Used to work the mines, gold, emeralds, good people. Shuftar's twice as much ore as the two of them put together. But the stronghold only values strength with a sword, and not a pickaxe. So, instead of passing my ore off to Shuftar's and Oler, I stashed half of it away in one of the barrels outside the mine. Me and this Khajiit peddler, you see, we came to an arrangement. I leave him ore, he leaves me skooma. Worked out pretty well at first. Only, the furball got greedy. He wanted me to smelt the ore into ingots. Said it was easier to move. Except it takes 2 pieces of ore to make an ingot. And I don't know the first thing about smelting. The peddler called me a liar and threatened to tell Chief Larak about our arrangement. So, I decided to make a new arrangement between his head and my pickaxe. I'll have to take your word for it. The Stronghold didn't think I was fit to be a warrior. In other words, I may be an orc by birth, but I was a miner by choice. Although the choice was never mine. Sure, orcs tend to look like them. Fighters. Chief Larak, he was a fighter. Fought for the Legion once. Give him a sword, and he'll clip the wings off a fly right before he shaves its bottom. Only now, I hear he's parading around the stronghold in some fur diaper. Doesn't even bother to wear armor. Mostly because I'm wearing it. Now, I got nothing against the chief, but I wasn't gonna go out into the wilderness without some steel. That's right. Day and night my body was shaking. And I didn't know if it was from the cold or the withdrawal. Couldn't start a fire to find out. So what I did was, I went up on that hill and waited for one of them pyromancers. Figured if I got him to chase me, maybe one of his stray firebolts might strike the logs. At least, it sounded like a good idea at the time. Nearly burned down the whole camp before I got my steel in them. Trying to salvage my things, I turned my helm into a bucket and went for the river. That's when I caught sight of a dainty Breton girl with 2 bottles of purple nectar sticking out of her pockets. Now, my eyesight isn't that great, but I can spot a bottle of skooma from 40 leagues away. I nearly tore my own sausage off when the girl got spooked by her own shadow and fell in the river. You'd think she saw a dragon or something. So, I dove in after her. I said to Oblivion with the camp, 2 bottles of moon drink were on the line. And that's how I met B. So, there's werewolves and werecrocs, werevultures and werebears. Makes me think, what about werecats? Well, you know how them rug sniffers love the twin moons? There's a reason for that. Fine.
Let your mind go beyond what should be thought, and you will see what we are troubadours, celebrators of life. We drink and feast from twilight to cockscrow, in tribute to tradition and song. Many peddlers, hunters, and even forsworn will pay a good coin for a warm fire, good drink, and a verse from the Poetic Edda. The Poetic Edda is part of the living history of Skyrim. first passed on orally and then through the written word. From the campfires of memorable days to the taverns of forgotten nights, the poetry is passed on and added to by each generation. And while as our guest, the honour of the first verse is yours, I can fulfil this role in your stead. The choice falls onto you, humble traveller. If the gods bless and the mood strikes, then by all means feel free to recite. Oh, that was rather brilliant. Although traditionally in the Reach we prefer a slightly less grandiloquent reading of the poetic Edda. Forgive me rudeness, but if you will allow me to recite a similar verse, I would be most pleased. As our guest, you may judge its worthiness. O Crantius, Miss Bass, licentious betrayer, your legend is Mars. A foothold, your conquest of the days and
Now I'm gonna get you. You don't scare me.
The mistress stood strong, House Koltor's truest protector. Her vengeance was instant, inconsolable death. And so ends the story of Crantius the Liar, a deviant and a scoundrel who we commit to the fire. As our most timely and honoured guest, it is not my place to disagree, nor will I deny any other flattery you wish to send my way. For our honoured guest, we have the cleanest refreshments this world has to offer, although I cannot speak for the next. Now, when I say clean, I hope I am not misrepresenting the potency of our drink, as I am referring to a very specific type of clean. Well, the word clean can be defined in a variety of ways. There's clean like the Carth River, and clean like the smell of a brisk summer breeze. There is clean like the white of a freshly washed tunic, or clean like the inside of a recently scrubbed cauldron. Whether it is a clean towel, a clean river, or a clean shave, the difference is in the surface. Well, one might say clean refreshment and clean taste come when a drink washes smoothly over the surface of your tongue. The refreshments we have gathered, on the other hand, seek to clean the surface of the mind. It can be imbibed or inhaled, smoked or suckled, but the result is the same: crystal clarity. Our guest is kind and well-intentioned, and this humble host thanks her for her concern. The host is quite aware of the stigma regarding our most treasured refreshment, and as of yet it has not affected her lucidity. Why, by cleansing our guest of the banal, imagine every boring thought stranded in your mind, washed away by a tide of concentrated joy, while others hope for the improbable and dream the impossible. When your mind is cleansed of preconception, the impossible will dream of you. That's right. I ask you, traveller, when was the last time you dared to think of that which cannot be? In the time between this sentence and the last, I have witnessed two such fantastical events. Behind you, I saw a bear dressed in Thalma robes, trained to sniff out Talus worshippers. In the curve of its eyes, I saw the future, where the septum had been replaced by pieces of coke as Tamriel's most commonly traded currency. Perhaps our guest would like to give it a try. Simply clear your mind and envision one impossible thing. Our guest does realise that words are already a weapon of war, and that this scenario is not only probable but likely. This host politely suggests that you ingest 3 bottles of refreshment before attempting again. You have a meticulous eye, traveller. Yet to answer your query, I must first tell you a story. There was once a peddler from elsewhere who sought to bring a barrel of the finest refreshments to his cousin in Skyrim. Unfortunately, those who governed the Empire frowned upon the imbibing of clean, savoury drinks. Undaunted, he sought to smuggle them inside bottles of a popular brand of Mead, brewed by a local man named Mogo. However, the choice proved to be his downfall, for the guards quickly confiscated his wagon. Not at all. These guards were acting in their own interests. They drank it. They say not a throat was dry that night. From the tavern to the Jarl's longhouse, palates were washed and minds were cleansed. And from the womb of that infinite revelry came a flash of inspiration, a paroxysm of melody and song. The bottles we store at this camp represent a harking back to that day, to the true spirit of the bard's tune. If they are true students of history, they would. Alas, these days people confuse the erudite with the recondite and the artful with the arcane. However, it seems you are the one with the unquenchable thirst for knowledge. That is why only you can restore Mogo's Mead to its true glory. I foresee a great quest, a reckoning with you at the centre. It is with much regret I say, doubtful, for the Mead wars have claimed many in our time and times past. The great whale, Maven Blackbriar, has swallowed barrel after brewery, and still her appetite is nothing short of rapacious. However, the popularity of the song Mogo's Mead persists, and now even the whale has conceded there is profit in another brand's name. Yes. In fact, word has travelled to our ears of a party to unveil the drink under the whale's banner. They plan to replicate the original recipe, but alas, not the recipe that inspired the song. This travesty of justice must be rectified immediately, and that is the quest I would have you endure. What we're doing is curing the masses of their ignorance. You will lift the fog that covers their minds through the imbibing of clean refreshment. Thus your task is simple, for you need only replace the bottles. The refreshment will handle the rest. Here, a case of the finest Mogo's Mead, specially brewed for added clarity. Now go, henceforth to Blackbriar Meadery. Go and champion the cause of our enlightenment. Tidings to you, friend. The choice falls onto you, humble traveller. If the gods bless and the mood strikes, then by all means feel free to recite. Oh, forgive me, manners, this horse did not mean to presume. Perhaps then I will sanctify this meeting with my own reading from the Edda. mud crabs ruled.
Oh.
Their word was the claw, and they spoke only for pinching. Soon, the mortals were born and spread over Mundus, swearing fealty to the mud crabs who presided as kings. For both man and beast were pitiful creatures, too parched to speak, throats dry with no voice. The mortals were brave and unafraid of the claw, but the mud crabs pinched them until they fell to their knees. Kind took pity and brought mortals moon sugar to ferment and bottle and smoke through burnt leaf. With drink came the voice to shout off the mud, ending the reign of the crab in the sea. But mortal beware, for even as king, refreshment is power, best used in a pinch. What is backwards or forwards depends on our orientation. As we are facing each other, it is only natural for us to have opposing opinions. Why, dear guest, it was not more than 20 paces from where you stand. If this answer perplexes you, allow me to recount the events that transpired. I had recently absconded from Drudat Redart with 2 bottles of refreshment on my person when I arrived at the bank of the river. Viewing the campfire in proximity of the dwarven ruin, I attempted to cross the barrel corridor. The water was as cold as it was irritable, so I decided to abandon this pursuit, given that I am not well versed in the swimming craft. Yet, no sooner did I turn around that a great big dragon swept overhead, the force of which catapulted me into the water. I thought the current in my tantrum, I managed to wedge my leg between 2 rocks. Yes? Azub is a fine host, and it is by virtue of his hunting skill that we are blessed with this current feast. Unfortunately, he is far less loquacious than I, especially in the presence of new guests. However, our guests might find that after a bottle of refreshment and some time by the campfire, the words flow faster than the cart itself. Be sure to check the barrel by the camp. There's enough for everyone. It was rather embarrassing, but I took some consolation. No, for laying in the rock beside me was a skeletal fellow, more bones than skin and more clothes than bone. He seemed to have died from a fracture to the skull, and his lifeless body was nestled comfortably beside me. Meanwhile, Azub, having witnessed my folly, rushed to the river to rescue me, but I could only stare at the course of the river. Then I noticed his right hand seemed to glimmer like a bauble, which makes sense as he was clutching one. I reached for the bauble just as Azub reached for me. He forced me out of the river like a bear swatting a salmon. When I first spoke to Azub, I didn't recognise the words, but there were none that I'd ever acquainted myself with before. The bauble, you see, was not a bauble, but an amulet of articulation. Drink and be merry, traveller. The bauble, you see, was not a bauble, but an amulet of articulation. Farewell.
Speak. Skooma. Poison, basically. Although that doesn't make it much different from the kind they serve at the inn. Not that they should serve it. Skooma's got a little more bite than mead or ale. But Malakath, it'll take a chunk of your mind and your coin purse if you aren't careful. But for some folks, it doesn't do either. I can put half a same with B. They say skooma will make you dumber than a mud crab. Wouldn't know it by listening to her. Won't stop using all them. Well, don't get any... except now. So... But the other day... My guess is smart girl. Huh? Well, now that you mention it, there is. Do you by chance know magic? As in fire spells and things like that? Well, here's the thing. Whenever I got off the school, I'd be in the mine, and my teeth would start chattering. I figured I was about to lose my mind if I didn't find something to fill the void. One night, I told Bagrack I'm going out into the woods to gather my thoughts. I guess she knew what I'd been up to. Either way, she lets me out of the stronghold, and I just started walking. Good question. Maybe she didn't care, or maybe she didn't know after all. Never asked her what she meant by the one. I wandered around a bit, looking for a ditch to lay in and die. Made it halfway to solitude when my knees buckled. I must have been a sad sight. Even the rabbits started getting curious. One of them scampered close, except I didn't stroke its fur. I grabbed it. Then I picked up the torch. It was pretty satisfying. Suddenly, all the tension in my muscles was gone. After that, I made it like a ritual. Went out every night. Helped keep me sane for the most part. Not enough to stay in the stronghold and work the... Don't need to anymore, now that I got drink. Although, my bee saw me burn a fox the other day, and she didn't like it one bit. Now she won't let me anywhere near the fire, so I gotta make my own. Well, I drink skooma for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and live with a beggar who thinks she's a In any case, if you aren't gonna teach me something I can use, then you best forget we ever had this conversation. Fine.
Hey, don't look at me that way.
Welcome. Allow me to recommend the Blackbriar Mead, the purest brew in all of Skyrim.
Ah, there you are. The natives were getting restless waiting for the porter to deliver the mead. And if there's one person you don't want to see restless, it's Maven Blackbriar. Is that the case? Perfect. I'll go ahead and take that. Oh, I don't know much about it. Other than the song, of course. That always puts the tavern folk in good spirits. I'm just surprised Maven was willing to put anything other than the name Blackbriar on one of her products. Asgeir must have insisted. The profits wouldn't be too shabby either. People would be obliged to drink it, just so they can sing along. Splendidly. Although we're still waiting on the main course, so to speak. That's where you were supposed to come in. Maven would have been rather embarrassed if those two troubadours didn't burst into song and stall for time. Oh, she's plenty incensed already. Hopefully those troubadours really do know the Poetic Edda. That would put even Maven Blackbriar to sleep. I don't know if you're aware of this, but an old ancestor
Azura's
of mine
wisdom
once
to
owned
you,
the old
friend.
Mogo's Mead brewery here in the Rift. It was by far the most popular mead of the... far more influential than Blackbriar mead, but you didn't hear that from me. Asger invited me as sort of a tribute to the original, although I was ever an actual person. But to be frank, to me that's all ancient history. But I'm not foolish enough to turn down a request from the Black.
Looking to stay alive? Why take a chance?
Jewelry with legendary Argonian craftsmanship.
The fairest prices and the highest quality in Skyrim.
I have heard that my the jewelry merchant sleeps in bed. Oh, strange, isn't it? He should be able to afford a better accommodation.
Protect yourself right. Buy armor from Grelka.
All right, we're here. Oh, why don't you introduce yourself to the other help while I talk to Maven? Oh, right, the servers were dismissed. You can talk to the troubadours. The orc doesn't say much, but the other looks amiable enough. Just talk to her, and make yourself look busy.
Why, hello, stranger who I've never met before. I hope you're enjoying the party.
So, I guess I'll speak first. As the descendant of one of the original brewers of Mogo's Mead, I am pleased to be here at the table today. Everyone knows the bard's song, Mogo's Mead, but few have tasted the richness of the drink that inspired. Now, thanks to the generosity of one Maven Blackbriar, they can. Of course, some say what makes Mogo's Mead so special isn't the honey, but a secret ingredient imported from outside of Skyrim. What is that secret ingredient?
Well, I only know what I've heard in the old tales.
I don't even want to know.
Oh, come on now, Maven. If you despise the mead so much, why even sell it?
To collect a larger share of the market, with minimal cost.
I guess that's as good a reason as any. To profits then, and the continued success of the Blackbriar Empire. Troubadours, how about a song?
Drink up, my boy. Drink to those who have fallen. May their souls find their way to Sovngarde.
Just when you think things couldn't get any worse.
A
Knew myself a maiden fair with emerald eyes and fire at hair. She owned a tavern by the sea and served warm drinks of mellow honey. Drink ye merry, drink ye thirsty, bring thy crew and revel freely. For one thing we're all agreed, that Mogo made the finest mead. Mogo's mead, the only drink we'd ever need. Take a flask and take a seat, and drink thyself a sweetie treat.
This might be skooma.
Somehow I doubt that. It's a bit melodramatic, even for you.
Ears up. Perhaps it's best we make a strategic exit.
What?
Run!
What in the world? By the gods! Those troubadours! They were skooma addicts! They must have broke into the meadery and switched the cases! Are you kidding? If word gets out that the Blackbriar Meadery was tainted with skooma, it would cripple the business. Who knows how many bottles those vagrants have sold? Luckily, convincing Maven to can the operation won't be too hard. She's half opposed to the idea already. Once I have Ingun examine these bottles and verify their taint, it won't take much persuading. Oh, Wolf, I'm going to need to take that drink off your hands.
Yeah, what do you want? If this is about the meadery, we can talk later.
Oh, sorry. Smells like garlic.
Moreover, I think those bottles are entirely safe to drink.
You stupid lizard. I'm not going to warn you again.
Lizard? Who in Oblivion are you talking to?
Father, do me the honor I deserve as your imperial pig, or I'll have your head on the Gerald Mountains.
All right, now you're not making any sense. And please, for the love of Mara, put down the knife!
Stab it right in the face.
Our gallant champion returns. What news do you have of the party? I take it all went well. If that is what the gods will, then fear not, for you have already done more than is required. For now the day of true refreshment is at hand. The future is sparkling bright, for now the Great Whale is no longer a detriment to our vision. The citizens of Leska's Girl will begin production immediately on bottles of Mogo's mead and distribute them throughout the Reach. For your part in this ordeal, I offer this reward: a large sum of gold and a fortune in wisdom. Take it and be cleansed.